This
The easiest
conference
way
will
I can
now be
think of
recorded.
is they make these little pumps, that they're water transfer or fluid transfer pumps that hook onto a cordless drill.
Yeah.
I would just get one of those with a couple pieces of tubing, stick it in the top of the chiller, and just start draining it out. It'll drain the tube at the same time.
Yep. That's a good idea too.
I didn't
Cordless
think about
drill.
this. I've even got one of those. I didn't even think about it.
Well, there you go. Mount the spindle sticking out the top and just chuck your drill up to it whenever you need to do it.
Yep. That's how we do. We change the water on our chillers. Is we've got a little aquarium pump set up with a little hose, and we just stick it in the top of the chiller and just drain it out that way. We don't have to unhook anything, don't move anything. Makes it super easy.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, when I used to do heating and air, and we get into doing water heaters or boilers that were things we use those drill operated pumps in emergency situations.
Yep, they work great.
Yeah, they do.
So, Brian, you like my late night message of my stupidity?
Oh, now what did you even say that for, man? We all do that. Yeah. All I saw was I'm an idiot.
That should not happen.
I just saw that. Well, everybody says that. I just saw that I'm an idiot, and I'm like, what? What's he talking about? And then I went back and looked because I don't check my PMs very often. They're blown up so much. There's so many things on there. I just don't even go in there and look.
Yep.
But yeah, no, you're not an idiot, man. Everybody lays on their e-stop every once in a while.
So you're allowed to dump the super secret grant message from last week?
I'm trying to even think what it was. I've slept since then a little bit. I'll have to go back through my notes. Seriously, it doesn't pop out at me.
All right, Grant.
We talked about a few things, but it wasn't.
What was the secret message last week, Grant?
Yeah, Grant.
I don't even remember what we're talking about.
You said that you had to call him right after the meeting, and you couldn't say it publicly, that it wasn't to be released publicly yet.
Oh, that's not even anything really relevant to you guys. I know it's kind of a cliffhanger, but it's really not.
That's what they always say.
Yeah, I really believe that.
Yeah, that's a likely story.
It has to do with videos that are going to be made.
Yeah, and I just want to say from the service and innovation department, we don't use all that smoke and mirrors stuff. You know.
I mean, if you want to know, somebody's going to be making videos for us.
Wait a minute.
Actually, Brian, smoke and mirrors is a lot of what you deal with.
Well, wow.
This sort of,
okay, I'm going to be quiet. You're exactly right.
This sort of leads into something possibly kinky here, because Brian and Grant's talking about secret videos that they're going to be making.
It's not really secret. It's just not confirmed yet.
What you up to?
I wouldn't answer that, Grant. I'll just be quiet. You better.
Yeah, I'm done talking now.
I wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
So, Brian, I have a question for you. You had your fiber going on that piece of metal to try to cut it through, that you were just letting it run cycle after. Did you ever get through that piece of metal?
No, because I was focused to the surface, and I didn't change it. But yeah, gotcha. I'm going to try that again. The first things I'm going to work on are the basic setup videos, and then y'all can watch me wreck how to operate one a little bit later. But
Brian, on the Aurora, does it have any readout on the Z height?
It does not. It's the Z axis is controlled a whole lot like on the Nova series. I mean, it's embedded in the controller, but it's not on the actual board. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's fed into.
And there's no way to read it or determine that I'm going to move up or down a certain consistent amount.
Well, I'm sure there's some sort of way, because I'd love for that, and it is possible, I'm sure, on those boards, to have the DRO readout or whatever, and be able to see that axis. This one is not capable from it out of the box. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I bought one of the Wixie DROs, a little 2-foot one, because my fiber's got the little manual hand crank on it. But yeah, quite nice for focusing and then getting back to a consistent focus, especially when you're out of focus. You need to go focus up or down by a millimeter or 2 millimeters. And
right.
Complete difference if it's 1 versus 2. So.
Yeah, and then the full Z, if that card that was in there would be capable of that, then that would be a thing too. And that may be a V2. You know, I'm sure as things progress, we're gonna evolve just like we evolved the Nova series. So hopefully all that stuff will come along. So.
Yeah, because that's gonna focus to the surface, right? So you could go measure, you take some calipers and measure the thickness of your material, and then be able to offset your focus by, say, halfway through it or whatever it was.
Right.
Will Lightburn be able to control the height? As far as like if you want it to say scan, 4 passes at this height and then drop down 1 millimeter or whatever.
Well, Lightburn doesn't have a solution for the fiber or for the galvos yet, for those controllers. So Lightburn's not an option on these. He's been working on it, yeah. But so yeah, that right now that's not a thing. As far as what you asked on the software that it is for, I don't know for sure. I'm still too new to this stuff. So cool.
So how many of you guys watched the little video I did on the coasters?
Yeah, I did. I was actually just going to ask you a question.
Oh, okay.
Did you have that test file somewhere? I made my own, but I just wanted to compare it to the test file.
Yeah, if you go to madmooselabs.com, you can download it straight from there.
I couldn't. Was it like a free item?
Yeah. Okay. So if you, because it's a free download, here, let me see.
I had trouble. It wouldn't let me set up an account, so I was on the right track. I just got hung up.
Yeah, and depending on when you were doing it, so we did some huge overhauls on our website over the last week or so. But yeah, you should just be able to go straight to the shop files, and then there'll be a link there for the test files.
And I think John had a question in a minute about a HR head or something, but I am pulling up your site, and I'll link it in the chat, and I'll pull it up on the screen if you want. I'm in the shop. Just go to view all products.
So I'm working right now. I've got yeah, it's kind of a mess. You actually have to hover over here. I'll throw the link in the chat. It'll just be quicker.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So yeah, I've got the test files somewhere separate from my main store right now.
Gotcha.
I was having some issues putting them in on the main store at a zero price.
Yeah, looks like WordPress. I can help you out with that. WooCommerce, if it is. I've been working that stuff for 10 years.
So yeah, so I do a lot on that. My main thing is done through WooCommerce, but the free files I'm using, what's it? Easy Digital Downloads.
Okay.
And I'm going to be going through and merging the two together, so it's all in just the WooCommerce.
Right. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, you just got to get around to it.
Yeah.
I'll make you around to it and send it to you.
Yeah,
that'll give me my project for the week.
I can't tell you how many of those I've made.
So, John, what was your question about the head?
I'm curious how many guys actually have one. I mean, this group.
I do.
Does it make a really big difference, or?
Depending on what you're doing, it really, really shines if you get into doing the painted tile, like the ceramic 4x4 tiles that you paint, and you start doing multiple layers of different colors. It makes a world of difference doing that. So you can actually get, I'll call it a MOPA look, but you can actually get colors on the tile by doing it that way. Because it's such a fine point on there with such a small focal length that you can individually go through each layer of paint separately and have different colors brought out.
Does it make that much difference on like the photographs and stuff, or is it pretty close to the same?
Some of it depends on the substrate.
Yeah, if you're using wood, it doesn't matter. But yeah, if you're
acrylic.
If you're using other stuff, like you said, acrylic or any
anodized
aluminum,
painted coatings or painted tiles, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It makes a big difference in acrylic, or no?
It does.
Acrylic holds a real high resolution very well.
But wood, it wouldn't matter.
No, wood because of the grain, it's really hit or miss.
If you focus the same difference from 3 different materials, a softwood like balsa wood, and then maybe something like, I don't know, MDF or whatever, or even birch, and then go to acrylic, and you focus the same distance and do a spot, you'll notice that the dot is actually different sizes because those materials burn at different rates. You see what I mean? So that's a lot of how the substrate, how that matters with line interval and how you're laying your dots down and all that is how fine of a dot it can accurately reproduce or what size the dot is when you fire. And that depends a lot on the material. And typically those materials we described handle a higher resolution or more accurate of the spot size, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, like on a typical Baltic birch, I can usually hit 300 to 350 DPI is about as high as I'll go. But on a good quality cast acrylic, I can easily hit 1,000 DPI.
Now, also think about this when you're talking about photos, just because you may only get 300 or 400 lines of resolution out of a photo with a 2-inch lens, that doesn't mean that you can't output a 2,000 line per inch high resolution image. It just means it's going to be processed differently. Think about a newspaper. When you look at the comics, that was newsprint. That's kind of like dithering. So it's an optical illusion. Unless you get really, really close to it, you can't tell. And you can do that with an HR lens with very small spot sizes and get real high resolution, or even with the 2-inch, you know, unless you put a USB scope to it. So it's not all in resolution. That's not the, you know, the end all be all is to get my resolution high.
The other thing you want to look at is how big or small you're doing. If you're going to do a photo on a 3 foot by 4 foot piece of anything, you don't need the high resolution because you don't need to lay the dots that small. You can do it with a 4-inch lens and still have plenty of resolution, right? But if you're going to do, say, like keychains, right, or something very small that you want the detail, right, you need a lot more finite dot size to be able to get the same look.
Yeah. And yeah, conversely, if you're doing a huge sign, you probably want big dots. Defocus, make your line interval larger. You'll get more burn. You'll get more area covered at once.
Yeah.
But you know, if you look at it real close, of course, you wouldn't want to do that. It's like standing 3 foot away from a jumbotron. You know, you won't see what's on that picture, but if you stand away from it, you will. So.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's a long lead time, and I'm just trying to decide whether my machine's getting close to getting in, and I need to pay some money. I'm just kind of looking at whether it's worth.
What I'd recommend, John, is if you aren't dead set on doing photos, try just a 2-inch lens. You'd be surprised. The 2-inch lens is probably more than sufficient for most people, unless you're specifically getting into very detailed photos or, you know, like the acrylic substrates and stuff like that. Try the 2-inch lens. The 2-inch is better resolution than most people would ever even think was possible. You know, I show people stuff that's done on the 2-inch. How do you do that? Look at the detail. I say, yeah, I can do a lot finer detail than that, but it's not really warranted a lot of times. And the other thing is as you get to that level of detail, your time will increase dramatically in terms of the time it takes to do it. So if you're doing a very detailed photo, it takes a lot longer, right? Because you're laying down more dots closer together than if you're doing less detail. So there's trade-offs.
All right, Jeremy.
Yeah, I concur with that. And also, you got to think about this. If you go straight into using an HR head, you're throwing a lot of variables and having to jump down a lot of extra rabbit holes. If you would, guys, mute yourself if you're not actually talking. There's some feedback back there. Thanks. If you should get comfortable with doing photos with the 2-inch first, because once you reach that level of incompetence, you could say, not incompetence, but that your equipment won't handle anymore. Once you say, okay, I've gotten the highest resolution I can possibly dial out of this thing and I'm happy with it, but I know I can get more, then you're well versed enough in the photos to begin with to say, okay, let's introduce this HR lens into the thing now. Because like Jeremy said, all of a sudden it's going to take twice as long to do one or more because the spot size is half the size. It actually increases the power because all of that power is in a finer beam, so your beam density is higher. So there's a lot of things that go in there. So the less variables, the better when you're starting out. So that's always the way I say. And you can always pick one up, you know.
Yeah,
and the same with the.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the same with the HR lens is as you tweak your settings on your 2-inch, right, your powers and speeds and stuff. Now your HR lens, because it's a finer dot size and it's putting more power. Now for the exact same settings will be a completely different look, right? So then now you've just introduced a whole different configuration that you've got to tune. And I want to say I have one. I don't use it very much. I have very specific needs when I want to use it, right? But most of what I do is with the 2-inch lens, right? And the 2-inch lens, just because of the autofocus with the camera, right? With the stop collar on it, everything, it's just set around that being the standard, right? And the HR lens is a horrible design with that flat nozzle and the stuff sticking to it. I hate that, and I swear I'm going to crash it horribly into something one day. It's too close, right? If you've got any type of hold downs, holding down a piece of substrate, if you're doing a piece of wood or something, you've got anything that's not perfectly flat, right? It's mighty close to your substrate.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy. Yeah, it's kind of a big decision. It's a couple extra bucks, and it's right now there's no set lead time. It could be 6 months, it could be 2 months, it could be a year. Nobody knows yet.
Look at that. Somebody engraved Grant's Facebook photo.
There you go.
Yeah, that was with the 2-inch lens. I don't remember what wood that was, but also, let me find another one. Just 1 second. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, I'm just asking you guys because I got to make the final question and send the money here. So I'm looking at the things I originally thought about and seeing if they really want to put the money up for them or not. So that's why I'm asking questions today, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat because I went ahead and went as big as I could go, and then I figured I could always get the accessories later. Matter of fact, my 63 is supposed to be here tomorrow, which is probably about 3 to 4 weeks early, so it kind of caught me a little off guard, but I'm excited. So
yeah, we like to let everybody, be in a lot of pain about the shipping and then end up throwing it to them a couple of weeks early, just to really mix it up.
Well, thing with the port and everything, it's kind of a hit and miss on some of the containers and stuff. And
it's ridiculous.
And then it was like, matter of fact, the delivery service called me on the Monday, and I've been checking because they'd sent me a message saying that it was going to be going into the port the next week, and then I'd get a tracking number and everything. So I was looking for the tracking number in the spam and on my email, and nothing. And then I got a call, and I was like, well, okay, Friday, okay, so tomorrow between 10 and 7, it'll be here. So I just hope I get somebody that knows what they're doing and get it off, and not try to play all these games and have to jump right through a lot of hoops.
Yeah,
awesome.
Mine's a little tricky. I got to get it off the truck and get it into something else to get it around to the shop. The truck's never going to get close, and I don't have a forklift. So there are little tricks. So I have to plan that out too. But one other question, back to the camera one time, because that's on back order too. Most guys said the camera was worth it.
I use it religiously. Yeah.
Okay.
If you get it dialed in right, use it correctly, it's an awesome, awesome tool.
Yeah, I've converted. I never had one on my old machine, but I finally this last week or two use it all the time now.
Okay, well, it's good to know. Appreciate y'all's input. Yeah, it's like down to the end here. You got to make a decision.
Hey, quick question. Just wondering, are the cameras still back ordered?
Yeah, it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, another shipment I think just got delivered today, and we still have them coming out. We're getting as many as we can from Lightburn. We have a standing order, send me as many as you got kind of thing. So we're fulfilling those as quick. We're making some headway. So hopefully it won't be too much longer.
Well, I got a care box from Thunder the other day, and it had the bracket for the camera, but no camera. So I just assumed they were still back ordered.
That was a teaser.
It was the blue. Was it blue?
Yes.
It should have the camera in there. There should be a lens sticking out in the center where there's a hole.
No camera.
Okay.
It's weird. I'd like to see a picture of that.
Okay, I'll get with you on that.
Okay.
It was just a teaser, Mike.
Send them all in separate boxes.
If that's what happened, then that was a total accident. We don't send out the blue part without a camera.
Right.
But I've had some people not see that the camera was in there because it's kind of weird looking. But I'll get with you later.
Yeah, we'll get you fixed up. No worries. So,
I'm not worried at all. In fact, kind of like David was talking about, I got a surprise yesterday. My machine came in. Wasn't supposed to be here for 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe they're trying to. All the logistics stuff is starting to smooth out. Then maybe they're trying to make amends.
I got a message that the containers, a bunch of containers came into the port, and I needed to pay it for my machine too because they came in
Okay.
earlier than they thought. So I think a bunch of containers made it in, and I think that's where we're all standing and have a back
Yeah.
order.
According to some of those pictures of the coastline, that's
floating around at the beach. Yeah, hanging out at the beach.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
be sure and clean those optics. That salt water might leave a little haze.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Back in the 70s, this is another topic, but back in the 70s, I was actually in the Merchant Marine for 38 years. And back in the 70s, I was in college, Merchant Marine College, and we had friends that were out on ships just going up and down the East Coast with oil. And there was an oil embargo or there was a big shortage, but they were all loaded. The tankers were just going up and down the coast. So
Wow.
something to see you never really know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and who knows what goes on there unless you're a part of it, like you were, to really see. Nobody really knows what happens.
Well, no, nobody ever sees that side of the coin.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all the help, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything?
Hey, last week I think Jeremy was mentioning a pin table he'd made out of like decorative studs. What height or length did you use? I was gonna get some 25s. That seems like.
I think it's what I got right at 1 inch.
Yeah. Okay. And then what'd you use for perf metal?
I bought a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of aluminum, like perforated aluminum. Got 1/8 inch holes, about every half an inch or something on it.
Okay.
I think for it with I got 200 studs. It was less than $50 for the metal and the studs.
Right. I was shopping for that. It looks great. Thanks.
Why did you need the aluminum with the holes in it? Again.
So when you're engraving acrylic, right? If you're not careful or don't have your settings exactly dialed in, like you can get flashback from your honeycomb bed, right? So your laser will flash back off of the bed, and it actually messes up the bottom of the acrylic. Whereas like if it's wood, you can easily sand it off. The acrylic, it'll damage the backside. So you use it to be able to effectively a pin table to stand off the acrylic, and it's at a point. It's like a spike, so it's a lot less likely to reflect off of it.
Okay, thanks for
like that.
Thanks for putting the picture. I appreciate it.
There's a really crappy version.
What?
Yeah.
This is what I use here. I don't know if that shows up or not, but yeah, they're just the little studs that are meant to go on like collars or whatever for goth people. And then I just have a little magnet that just screws in the bottom of it here. So it's just a little.
Oh yeah, you were the one that was talking about the magnets on the end. I remember that was someone. I forgot that was you.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for showing that. A lot of times you guys talk about stuff and no hard feelings being new. It's like so far over my head without a picture that I don't have a clue.
So this is actually something that we'll be selling here on Mad Moose too, eventually, just all pre-assembled, because they're kind of, when you're dealing with 50 of them, it's kind of a pain to have to assemble 50 magnets to the bottom of those.
So if you don't have holes in yours, then you just put those magnetic pieces on.
Yeah, no. So the ones that I ordered, because I had them manufactured for me. I don't know if that'll show up, but I have them manufactured with threaded holes pre-ready in the bottom.
So where y'all buying the pre-threaded aluminum? Some particular place?
A manufacturer in China.
Okay.
Here's my solution. I just took
You're dark, Glenn. You're really dark.
Oh, I know. The light behind me. My solution was to just take the hold downs that are on the file, and can you see that? Here, let me move out of the way. Maybe you can see that a little better. It's the hold downs that's in the file, so I just cut them and I just made a little point to it and put those into the bed, and I just put them exactly where I want in the bed, and it holds it up just perfectly. When it cuts over it, it works great.
You don't have to worry about reflection with that stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's wood. I mean, it's
And so Glenn, I started that way. That way, and I've got probably 100 of those cut. I use, leftover scrap. I cut a project out and, use the last little bits of scrap. Problem I run into is you go put, 10 or 15 of those in, laid out, and then almost certainly I will get a different project, have to change it. So I did it where I can literally just swap a plate out. So it takes 5 seconds rather than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of acrylic, so yeah, it's just easier for me to, or not easier, but so that works for the little bit that I do. So if you're, I guess, in production mode, I'm sure that's way better.
And for mine, it's not even as much as production mode is swapping from so many different things. I go from cutting wood signs or ornaments to acrylic to tumblers, and trying to make it as, we'll say, universal to swap between things quickly.
Right.
Not spend so much time doing the setup for each project.
Right. Sorry, I got distracted. James Reed's on the Thunder Laser fans page cutter, whatever page, and he just cleaned one of his mirrors and some blue residue came off, and he said he's never cut anything blue. So that's kind of strange. Oxidation or something, maybe. I don't know what he's cleaning it with.
He's probably using Windex.
Hey, if I could put something out about the if people are wondering about the upgrade kit for the Rotary. If you're going through the website, you have to go all the way through to the checkout, because it's going to give you an estimated price for shipping, but that's not going to be the final price because it doesn't have your data, so it doesn't know where it's shipping. So it's just kind of giving a general number. As people are like freaking out when they see like a $60 shipping charge for, something. But once you get to the end, you do your checkout, you put your information, all that stuff, then it'll allow you to pick it. So just to kind of, for anybody looking to get the upgrade for the kit, don't freak out when you see the estimated price. That's not the actual price. I don't know how to fix it on the website.
Awesome.
Because
I appreciate it.
because when you're going through the process, it doesn't know who you are, so it doesn't know where you're shipping to, and it's set up to give an estimated price, but I can't allow it to have an estimated price, but negate the fact that your information's not there. So it's like a double-edged sword, I guess.
That's a woo site too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's through Equid, to WordPress.
Oh yeah.
Through Equid, but it won't allow me to differentiate between estimated shipping at checkout and estimated shipping during the checkout, the selection process. Gotcha. So it just throws an arbitrary number up there
until you
put your address and stuff in there, and then it'll give you an actual the correct shipping information.
Gotcha.
It kind of sucks. I get feedback from that a lot, but I can't really do anything about it.
And that's why I was messaging you separately. I don't want to go hurt any business. And wow, you $60 shipping is horrible, but yeah, I appreciate it.
No, it ain't $60.
Nope.
It should be somewhere around 10 or 11 or whatever the
exactly.
The
$60 shipping's great for me up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to use like moose and airplanes to get all your stuff there.
Dog sled.
Dog sled.
Yeah.
Brian, say something.
Nope, I'm letting the awkward silence take over.
Why don't you show us your shop?
And not right this second. I'm in the middle of doing my inventory count again, and I have stuff straight everywhere, and it's always a huge wreck anyway. And one of my lasers is missing, so there's a big hole there where a laser needs to be, and I'm just no.
and he's prepping for those videos with Grant too, so
Oh, that's right.
Any of that stuff
yeah, I'd have to move that couch and stuff out of the way so that we can put the laser back in place.
Yeah, that's getting crazy.
The old casting couch, huh?
Right.
That's going to go in the description if I ever go back and put them back in there for the keywords. I've forgotten to do it on the last 3 videos, but I'll try to get caught up. I need to have someone like take notes, and then I can just paste it in there when we get done. Actually, this time I've got a notepad open and I'm making notes of what we talk about, so I don't have to think about it later. So, I think that'll be
So
good.
the subject of this one's going to be Grant and Brian shoot a video.
Yeah,
a video in quotations.
Yep.
Video quotations. So, I'm also going to make an article. I hate doing this because it's like that banding issue. It wasn't really an issue. It just, I mean, it was, but it wasn't. I've noticed that some of the autofocus sensors, if you don't run the material below the autofocus first before it autofocuses, there can be a couple of millimeters of deviation. And I've only seen it on like 2, maybe 3 cases out of all of them. But I'm wondering if that might be, there's one camera that I'm having issues with staying aligned with the camera. And I'm wondering if the autofocus sensor being a little flaky might be it. So I'm going to write an article about how to check the calibration of your autofocus, and I might put that out. And if anybody wants to give it a shot, just need a straight edge basically. And a couple of reference thicknesses of materials, to put in there to autofocus. But I'm going to put something up about that. I like to dig in and see if there's something really going on or whether I'm just crazy, which I already know the answer to that, but we'll give it a shot anyway. So.
About how long is the exhaust hose that comes with the machines?
It's 2 sections. What is it? 20.
It's about 6
feet?
foot total.
Well, when you stretch it out, see, my machine's 2 years old now. I don't know exactly what they're sending with the newest ones, other than what they show me on their video.
Yeah, I think they're about 6 foot each.
Fully extended.
Fully
extended. Open mine and check, but I've never even opened it.
2 meters.
Actually sent me one.
Yeah, it's about 2 meters probably.
That sounds.
Mine was pretty long.
Yeah, mine was pretty long, and I cut up.
Yeah,
I used one hose to do both the inlet and the outlet. I had so much.
Yeah, I only got one hose on the bottom because I got a 8-inch on the top, but it's got about a 6 foot run, and I probably chopped off almost half of it, and there was still a whole nother coil of it in there.
Let's see, I've got a PDF of some of the older stuff, and I think it showed what size.
Yeah, that was what I was asking.
2 sections of 6 meter. There's 6 meters.
Okay.
No,
that's what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Now, this was from 2020 or 2019, but I doubt that they would change much of this stuff. Most of this is the same. But it's saying they're 6 meters. I don't know if that's total, whether it's 2 3 meters or whether it's 2 6 meters.
I don't
just
think
because,
it's not each. They're not that long.
Yeah. So maybe 2 3 meter sections. And that sounds about right.
Because I'm gonna have it in my garage, and what I'm doing is I'm in a rental property, so I'm not really wanting to change up any of their stuff too much. And what I'm planning on doing, because probably in about 6 months we're gonna try to buy a house again, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of run it on the ground and just kind of run it out of my garage at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
and
that's common actually.
And then I just have to, when it gets real cold, make sure I have some kind of heater or whatever, because I am in Texas and they did have the freak thing last year. But the thing about it is, I got a generator, so that area is covered. I just have to make sure there's something in there.
Do you have a window by chance, David?
No, there's not a window in the garage, or because my dad was, his idea was like, hey, well, you got the hot water heater, it's got that vent going. I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna do it like that. It just seems like that'd be a little much.
Yeah, I looked at punching an actual hole in the side of my shop, and I actually I cut a acrylic plate to fit right in the window. The closes down on it. It's got a hole through it.
What I plan on doing is once we move, then I'm going to actually make it into a shop more like exactly like I want, and actually dump more money into it to make it more organized and everything else. But not knowing how long we're going to be here or anything, I'm not wanting to really just do too much. As it is, I'm going to be putting in probably 2 different breakers and a couple extra outlets and stuff just because some of the outlets in there didn't even work. So I got to go up there and figure out, troubleshoot everything and find out why the plug's not working and everything else. So I figured when I did the dedicated 20, I'd go ahead and just do another 20 and bounce a couple receptacles off of that one.
Mm-hmm.
How do the machines do in a dust environment?
Mine do okay.
Yeah, I'd say fairly well. Quite a few of these guys are, have CNCs or have them in their wood shops.
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff,
what I
so,
got.
yeah.
I'm basically a woodworking shop with CNCs,
Yeah.
and
Just
I was
keep
curious.
the belts and the tracks clean.
Yeah.
Keep the belts and
Now-
tracks, and keep your lid down when
Well,
you're not using it, because if
Yeah, and that's one thing I like about these machines is they don't have those linear bearings, so there's no lube exposed. And even on the ones that say they're protected, that still stuff gets on them eventually,
Yeah.
and then you got to tear them completely apart. But I like having that dry surface because the roller bearings are self, lubricating and sealed, so you don't have to worry about it sticking to all that mess.
The biggest thing I've noticed is just keeping it closed. And what I would do with mine is I have an old bed sheet or something,
Yeah.
and when I'm not using the machine or I'm doing like heavy woodworking, I'll just throw it up over it and drape it. That way the dust doesn't get up in there. And probably 80% of the time I have it covered, even if I'm not doing any kind of woodwork, just to help keep the dust out. But keeping the door closed pretty much does an adequate job.
Yeah, I won't be able to do that. I actually had to take my urinal out to find a space for this thing, so I can no longer drink too much beer.
Well, that's not good.
No, it's not, but it was a trade-off.
Yeah, just keep a 5-gallon bucket handy.
Right.
Yeah. Get a K40 and use the bucket for it because they got those open loop chillers, the coolers on them.
Yeah. Well, and to give you an idea for dust, so here's my laser room there, and there's usually where I sit when I do these little videos and stuff. But right through this door, you go straight into our warehouse. So, I mean, it's super dusty out here. This is where we do all of our woodworking, all that kind of stuff. So
You're just showing off, aren't you?
I've got a ton of room. Now, if I show enough, I go, look at this pretty pallet of wood.
Yeah, that's that $35 a sheet, 1/8-inch Baltic birch, right?
No, that's actually more than that. That's a 3B wood.
Oh, there you go.
What kind of wood?
This stuff, there is no filler, no holes, no nothing.
The high quality, like top of the line wood.
Yep.
Very, very few, if any, imperfections in the finished edges or finished sides.
What's it made out of? What kind of wood?
That's Baltic birch.
Most of the time, they even the filler is the top grade stuff as well. So when you engrave in it, you don't have a bunch of empty pockets or voids or anything.
Where do you get that from? Well, depends where you live, I guess.
Probably Russia.
He probably
gets it from Russia.
Yeah, I get mine from Russia.
Direct, huh? Direct.
But you can get it from. You're not gonna get it from like a Lowe's or Home Depot. You need to find an actual lumber yard.
Yeah, I got cabinet supply places, and that's where I get my other Russian Baltic birch.
Cabinet supply place would be your absolute best place to do it.
What are you guys calling it?
Well, I call it grade A, but I don't know what he calls it.
The actual term for it is, and you'll get kind of used to this. So if you buy it from like, say, woodpeckers from Amazon or whatever, they're always like, oh, grade 4A or 5A or what. And what it is the lowest grade I run is what's called 4B. And the way it's rated is you have two sides to the sheet. One side is 2B, the other side is 2B. And so I typically will run triple B, which has it's double or 2B on one side, single B on the other side, which is classified as cabinet grade. To try to find A grade wood is near impossible, at least up in Alaska it is. And the 3B that I've been getting has no footballs, no pucks, patches, any of that stuff, no voids in the middle.
Even your inner cores?
Even the inner core is, for whatever reason, they're still calling it 3B, but the inner core is still Baltic birch, and there's no issues with it either.
Oh, wow.
I put a link to this general one search on Google thing about grading. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I linked it.
Yeah, it looks fairly accurate. And so I actually get my wood out of Washington, believe it or not.
I buy plywood, and you get the A and the B and a B2 face, so that's I've seen
Yeah.
all those numbers before. That's pretty common. It's hard to get an A grade, but you can get a B2 face pretty sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, the cabinet shop, if you got one close by, it's your best bet. I wouldn't even and try to set up a wholesale account with them.
I have an account with mine, so it's
okay. So that way you can get a discount on it, because I mean, if you're buying it from Lowe's or Home Depot, you're wasting your money.
yeah, you're not getting that.
Unless you're in a real tight pinch. But the Lowe's and Home Depot stuff doesn't cut very well because it's probably got like 15 or 20 layers, and it's not worth anything.
You know, there actually is a wood at Lowe's here or Home Depot here. It's a pine, and it's
Blonde
plywood.
wood.
I don't know. It isn't blonde. It's some sort of a pine, but it actually stays fairly flat. It actually doesn't turn out too bad.
It's radiata pine.
It's not yellow. It's some other thing. I've seen it. I just haven't seen it again the other day, and I bought it once in a while. It turns out okay. It's not super hard, but sometimes the birch you get, birch is, you get the China birch, and it, if you don't cut it right away, sometimes it ain't worth cutting.
Yeah. Man, how many cameras you got up and running there? Jeez.
Just 2. So, I want to show you guys my new favorite wood, actually. So, one, if you've never had the privilege of cutting cedar, I highly recommend it. It smells amazing.
Yep. It burns really well.
It actually engraves really well. Almost as good as older.
This guy right here.
Superior.
I have never heard of this wood before, but
African mahogany.
Is that what it is?
Basically.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Mahogany.
All I know is it's absolutely gorgeous stuff. So I got a bunch of new samples in from a supplier.
There's 2 cuts. There's actually a flat grain, and there's also a quarter sawn or a rift cut. There actually is 2 cuts to that you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what we've been doing on this, and this actually is, I've been liking this a lot. If you look at the core on this, it's actually veneered. So it's an MDF core with super thin veneers on either side of actual wood. Mm-hmm. But it always stays nice and flat. Don't have any problems with, it warping or twisting or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you gotta
get it wet.
You gotta be careful how far you burn into it though too. How much of a veneer do you got there? 1/16 or something? Or
16th.
It'd be better for cutting rather than engraving. But,
well, you could do a nice picture on that stuff, because you're not going deep on a picture anyways. So you could do, and hardwoods are usually better for pictures anyways.
Sorry, that was
gotta go there, guys.
Get a nice echo going on there.
Echo. Hey, something along the lines of the link that you put in there, Brian. I found a really good podcast about just lumber in general. There's a guy named Shannon Rogers. So he's actually got a couple of podcasts. He does one with Matt Cremona and the Wood Whisperer. They do one, but he's got one called the Lumber Industry Update. So it's Shannon's Lumber Industry Update. Mm-hmm. The guy is he's a wood nerd. Right? He has so much information on wood, and like plywood, he goes through everything from the grading and the the basics of all the veneers down to the core to the glue, all the trade-offs. He works a lumber import business. Mm-hmm. And he buys and sells wood internationally and imports it, and just full of knowledge, down to, he communicates in woods down to the species, right? Because there's so much different. So we're just talking sapele, right? Which is categorized as a African mahogany, but African mahogany is like the most generic term in terms of wood because everyone liked the mahogany look, but most African mahogany isn't even in the same species as most African mahogany, and different mahoganies. If you get the one that ends, and only one I can remember on the species is the Ivorensis, which is the one that's from the Ivory Coast of Africa. It's one of the really nice ones. So the woodworkers that talk about they love African mahogany, they almost certainly get the Ivorensis one, but they don't get the one, you know, that's from out in the middle of the desert portion of Africa because it's horrible and dusty and tough to machine. So, yeah, but the guy has some very informative, useful podcast that I think a lot of it would relate here in terms of just, you know, wood and wood nature, because he talks a lot about how people expect wood to be perfect. Right? It's natural, right? So by default, it's going to have certain characteristics, right? And talks, you know, everything from grading to purchasing wood to what are you looking for, understanding, you know, things in the lumber industry like board feet, which is quite confusing to most who, you know, haven't been around, you know, buying wood, right? You know, that are used to seeing like a traditional 2x4. If you go to buy hardwood, you don't get 2x4s. You go buy in board feet. And so that it's a really, really informative podcast. So any of you that are interested in learning more than you ever knew that even existed on wood, he's got it all in one place. So
cool.
I've actually really been enjoying it lately.
I think I found him. I ended up on lumberupdate.com and I put that.
Yep.
He's also known as a Renaissance woodworker. He's from New England. The guy is a massive guru when it comes to
everything woodworking. Yeah, he's got the hand tool school where he actually does hand tool woodworking, like training and seminars. But yeah, he does all kinds of interesting stuff. But yeah, and just started, you know, publishing a podcast. And it kind of started around, or it got real popular during COVID because everyone was worried about the prices. Well, he buys in, you know, he's buying from the actual sawmills internationally and importing it into the country. So he's seeing a lot of the price changes and putting out a lot of information on, you know, here's the facts that he's seeing. Right? It's tough to predict the market, but here's some of the things that feed into, you know, what determines the price in the market.
Hey, Jeremy, he started off of Wood Talk, so if you want to further watch back to the original parts of where that originated from, he's from Wood Talk, which is from those guys.
Yeah, with Matt Cremona and Wood Whisperer, old Mark Spagnolo.
Yeah, I followed all those guys for years.
So I've got one just kind of for everyone out here. So there's actually a new wood that I found called the Black Locust wood that I've been wanting to cut, but I can't find any information because I know that it does have some high toxicity in it, but I can't find any information on it if it's actually safe to laser. Anyone know anything on that stuff?
I've got one in my yard. I'll cut down and ship to you.
I was going to say, I think I have some Black Locust. I definitely have a laser. So, I think I've got some Black Locust pin blanks, so might try it out and see.
Never played with it. It's really cool. It actually glows under black light.
I'm trying to remember if it's Black Locust that we had in West Virginia that I used to burn in our wood stove, and it burns massively hot.
Yes,
so I would think if you could burn it in a wood stove in your home, you should be able to laser it.
Well, it's not. I know the laser will go through it. That's not what I'm worried about. But a lot of your exotic woods start getting into releasing carcinogens and other toxic chemicals when you're burning.
That's why I was saying if you're burning it in a home, a lot of people down there burn it in their homes.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
You're using it for heat. I would imagine it would be safe to laser.
You've met a lot of people that do weird, stupid stuff, right?
Like burn tires to stay warm.
Yeah, like burn tires or fill the truck bed of their or garbage bags full of gasoline and put them in the back of their car to transport it. And
trying to remember right, if it's Black Locust, it's very popular in West Virginia, and the reason why it's because I know we used a lot of locust down there, that because it burns really super hot and it's really sufficient for heat, so it's a popular stuff for wood stoves.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is up here. We have paper birch and river birch that burns super hot, and I engrave that stuff all the time.
Yeah, 'cause it's fairly dense wood, the Black Locust, and that's why it burns hot and long.
The strongest and most rock resistant wood indigenous to North America. But yeah, so looking at it, a lot of companies make a lot of different products out of it. So just looking in terms of supporting that question, siding, decking, lumber, live edge slabs, garden boxes, fence railing, flooring, right? So there's a lot of different things I'd like to think, right? From a wood, it would be not overly toxic to burn, just from the amount of different wood products that are there that people have burnt enough of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically use that next to coal. If we sort of compared it heat wise to generate the heat.
Yeah, we cheat. If we want coal, we just walk down to the beach and go grab it off the beach.
I just went down and grabbed it off the barges down in West Virginia.
Cool. I don't have anything else new.
Now, have you lasered any coal?
Have not tried that one, no.
Not sure that would work
It's
out.
a fire hazard. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
So is wood. Wood's a fire hazard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but-
coal that we have up here is pretty nasty stuff, though. When you're using it to heat or whatever, you don't want to cook on it. It's not good.
Is it the one that lets out the really bad yellow smoke?
No, it's black.
Oh,
It's
you got
just
the black.
it's just oily when when it gets I don't know, it gets to a certain temperature, it kind of oozes the oils and stuff out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's different layers of which I didn't realize that until when I was in West Virginia, that there's so many different types of coals and different coals burn at majorly different heats. Some are better than others for actually heating your home, and the rest of it's basically meant for other purposes.
Kind of like woods. They're more expansive and different than you would think. I guess
Yeah.
there's rabbit holes everywhere, no matter what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That looks.
Especially plastics and metals as well.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So for next Wednesday's thing that I do, what do you guys want to learn?
How to use the rotary.
How to use the rotary?
High resolution images on painted tile.
Actually, you know what I would like to see someone try? I don't have the experience with photos. I'd like to see someone try a photo on the rotary, like a really nice photo.
On a cup.
Yeah, I know I've seen some people do some graphic images, but they haven't been like a kind of a detailed.
Right.
I mean,
more
I know
like
you
a
have
vector fill. It's usually more like logos and names and designs like that. Yeah.
I've seen some where they have like the fading, so it's kind of dithered and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen anybody do like a full out, like a photo on one. I think that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, you would have to use the anodized tumbler to do that. I don't think it would work with powder coating. That coating's just too thick.
I've seen some done that were done for baseball.
If you go slow enough.
If you can find out your true cut through, and then obviously your absolute or your minimum power, and then to just barely leave a scuff, and then your max power to actually get through the item, which for me is like I use 35, I think. You could use those as your two numbers for your dithering, and then that way you'd have different gradients.
I'll have to play around with that one.
Or not dithering, but the grayscale.
The grayscale, yeah, because dithering, you're either burning a dot or you're not. Yeah.
So with the grayscale, because I've seen some people do some stuff on accident.
I'm wondering if dithering would actually be better on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see it tried. I don't have enough experience with photos to mess with it, or to make a nice quality image. I mean, if someone's got a photo or something, like a test photo or something, I'd be glad to do it and try it myself. But
you know what,
Jason, check the Facebook page. I asked that question probably 2 months ago, and there were several people that replied back that had amazing photos on Polar Camel tumblers that they did on their Thunder.
Oh, they had photos on them?
Yeah, actual photos. I mean, because that was the kind
Oh,
of the question was, can it be done?
yeah,
And
I'd never seen that
15 or
one.
20 people replied back with some beautiful photographs. I mean, everything from nature. There was one or several of people,
Huh.
photographs that, they had taken their family or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's on, I think it's on the global forum. I'll look for it when I get home and I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see it. I'd never seen it before.
Yeah, there was somebody out there that was actually doing them for baseball teams, for like youth baseball teams. They were taking and putting the girls. I think it was a girls softball team, if I remember
So
right.
using the kids for the photos.
Yeah, they were using the kids' baseball photos and putting them on the tumblers for them.
Huh. I'll have to look.
I
I'll have
thought
to
that
see
was
what
like a
I'm looking.
huge selling point for
Oh
parents.
yeah, I mean, that's why I said if it could be done, then you can kind of perfect it. Shoot.
Yeah.
Parents,
I was
parents would go
looking at doing
crazy.
it. Was looking at doing it on the fiber, but I hate the rotary on the fiber.
Yeah.
God, that chuck rotary is
Well,
horrible. I hate
the
it.
fiber doing it, you would have to dither it. You wouldn't have a
Yeah.
choice because a fiber you're either burning or you're not. There isn't
Yep.
any in between at all.
Yep. Yeah. No, and that being said, I've actually been able to do photos so much easier on the fiber than on the CO2.
Yeah.
Even
I'd
with
like to
like
see
anodized aluminum.
the grayscale would be neat is what I'm thinking would be neat. Because the dithering, you could do pretty much anything, I guess, with dithering, but to do an actual grayscale, I think it'd be pretty neat.
I don't know.
I
One guy, I saw guy that had a YouTube video, I think he made of it. He did one thing, I think it was like you're talking about the grayscale. He did one of them first and then came back and did a different thing on top of that, on top of it. And it made it come out really detailed.
That was Chris Lacasio, House of Lasers, and then Robert did one follow up on that from Computer Creations, where he went in and etched it and then painted it and then etched away. So he did. I think he etched it and then painted it black and then negatived it and etched through it, and actually it comes out really nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, I sent a link to everybody. There's a 3D Wave USA collection laser files. And I guess I've been seeing them once in a while, not necessarily the cheapest, but some of them they're interesting. And they just started laser drawings now. Some of them say Glowforge, and that was one of my questions. Does Glowforge drawings work for us? I mean, I would think it would. I don't.
So it depends on the file format
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now to
If you can,
see.
if you can export it, or if it's a DXF or EPS,
I don't know. I haven't done anything with it. They just started sending it out recently. I get an email from them once every two weeks or something. And the last
yeah,
email they just started talking about, they now have laser files that you can purchase for about $5 a piece or something.
Yeah, so they're showing PNG, BMP, and JPEG on some of them. So, and then they're showing 3D STLs, and then some of the other ones that are Glowforge laser files that it shows don't show a file type. So
it just depends on what the file is, I guess. But if it's a vector file, obviously you'd want a DXF or something to that nature. I think DXF and EPS are importable. AI is, I think, importable.
yeah, it is.
SVG
is importable as well.
Oh, it is? Okay. But as far as like your other stuff, your high resolution bitmaps, PNGs, and even JPEG, I mean it's not bad. I mean for what they are, it's like $5 for just a generic picture. Not too bad.
I don't know. I probably threw it out there because you guys deal with this stuff all the time, whether it's anything worth looking at for reality or not really going to help you.
Well, I mean it's a good tool to have in the toolbox. If you need something just for the heck of it, or you want to try testing like some of these look like they might even be 3D reliefs.
Well, that's what I was just looking. Some of them are definitely labeled as grayscale files, so that should be good for 3D relief.
Yeah, so I mean, some of these you can use as a 3D relief and get kind of some depth and stuff out of them. to kind of stand out. But
Just do it out there. Might find some interest in it.
oh yeah.
I do have one question because the wife keeps asking. She's wanting me to do Halloween stuff for her Halloween party for her book club. And I pretty much know the answer to this, but I'm going to double check. Foam, styrofoam, is there any that's actually safe, not like the bullet, the ones used for your gun cases and stuff like that, but any that can be cut out and or slightly engraved on to make like headstones, tombstones, whatever you want to call them?
Pretty much anything that does not have PVC.
Yeah, if you find a PVA foam, it works
PVA is good.
amazing.
Yeah. Are you talking about you're talking about like
thick
garden, that real thick, airy foam?
The stuff that's like the anti-fatigue mats that you stand on are PVA foam. So if you went to like Harbor Freight and bought like some of the tiles and stuff, I've cut some of those, and yeah, they're very dense and thick, cut amazing, and actually you can engrave really nice as well.
Pretty much any foam that is not a PVC based.
So any of your construction foams probably would not work then, would it?
I don't know. I think it would just, again, you'd have to know the chemical makeup of it, because like I said, the problem with the PVC is the PVC will melt onto itself, for one. So as you cut it, it's basically going to fuse itself back together, and two, it puts off toxic fumes.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
And anything with ABS as well, ABS foam as well, you want to stay away from anything that has ABS in it. But pretty much all your other types of foams, your soft foams, your plastic, or your I don't even know what they call it.
Well, at the end of the day, if you're unsure about one, most likely it'll have a material data safety sheet, and that'll ultimately need to be what your reference is, if it's an unknown.
Yeah, because I know you got like your thick, or your construction foams, like I forget what exactly they all are right now. The blue ones and the pink ones.
Steelitex and all that stuff. Yeah.
I didn't know if those at all would be, because basically what I want to do is cut them out and engrave them and paint them black. Granted, I could do it on the wood, but I just thought the foam would.
You're talking about like the insulation type foam, construction foam.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because that way, she's wanting me to put a pet cemetery out in our woods.
Yeah, I've cut that stuff without any problems.
Some like foam boards and stuff.
Now whether or not it's toxic or not, I can't I can't say. But I've cut the blue, and I've cut the pink, I think.
Do you heat with tires?
Plastic on it though.
What's that?
Do you heat with tires?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I've cut PETG before, and yeah, that's not very smart, by the way. Or marine or starboard. Don't try to cut starboard with the laser.
Yeah, one you might look into. I might play around with it. We use it in here on our CNC. Is a product called HDU. It's a high density urethane. And it's a specifically designed for the sign industry that we throw on our CNC to do 3D relief big signs and stuff. And we get it all the way up to like 3 or 4 inches thick. So you might look at that. I don't have I tried pulling up the MSDS on it, and I didn't find it right off the bat, but that might be something to look into also.
But that stuff's a lot more costly, and probably not what you're wanting if you're going to be cutting out like large decor for the yard. It sounds like pet cemetery decorations and stuff.
HD is expensive. It's about $300 to $400 per sheet.
Yeah. Actually, I've got a spot in my woods that I've actually created for all of our animals to be buried in, which is, it's going to be called Pet Cemetery. Well, she's wanting me to take it to the next level and create other stuff for the pets. That she even wanted me to create a banner or like an archway for the thing, and I'm like, oh my god, my deer are going to be scared shitless out there.
Hey, Jim, I got a guy that does granite. You guys say this CNC cuts, or this laser cuts decent in granite. There's a guy that did my countertops, but I've been friends with him a lot of years, and he's cut me some squares for sharpening. But they have a lot of granite scraps they just throw away in the dumpster, and they're just trying to get rid of them. So if you're looking for tombstones, you might be able to just get some pieces. They may not be the perfect shape,
Yeah, it's
but
just
you might be able to just engrave in the granite, and it might come out pretty good for nothing. Just a thought.
yeah. I had thought about that and I completely forgot about it again. Thanks for
Just be
reminding me.
careful.
And if you go ahead and use your pets' names, then unfortunately, when that does happen, you'll be ready. You won't have to do anything.
Yeah, because we've got 2 that are on their way out now. Have actually got their coffins built.
Oh boy.
My my old cat actually, which she's like 16 or 17, she's got skin cancer, and she's got like part of her whole entire side is missing.
Yeah.
And she's still doing perfectly fine. Like there's nothing wrong with her, but she actually sleeps in her coffin.
she knows what's up.
She's breaking
Yeah,
it in.
don't be sick at your house.